Hey, welcome back. Now we're going to demo a really fun bike. S1000rr, baby. Stick around. Hey, I appreciate you supporting the channel. I do have some new merch in. If you want to wear one of these cool shirts and look spiffy while doing it and supporting a good cause, please check out the link in the description for our merchandise. So I'm here with the 2022 BMW S 1000rr. I'm super excited to check it out. And this is a fast bike. Now BMW, of course, they do the team ride approach, so I can't really crack it open too much, but it will be fun to, at least get a taste for what it feels like. Let's check it out. So BMW's 1000 motor is an inline 4-cylinder, and its displacement is actually 999 cc's, but obviously call it 1,000. Round it up, Bob. The bore and stroke on it is 80 by 49 millimeters. Maximum power, though, on this beast is 205 horsepower. This is a fast bike, very fast. We're also going to see that the torque curve on this bike is actually rather low, only at 83 foot-pounds of torque. So you're less than half of the torque curve, but again, that's what you get with a sport bike, right? You get a high RPM range. Compression on this is 13 to 1. Obviously, dual overhead cam, 6-speed, and the clutch has a slip clutch as well, so you can really power on. It's going to be interesting to see. I am not looking forward to the riding position on this. It is right over the top with a slightly back riding position, of course, with a street bike, but really cool. Again, with BMW, you're going to get the TFT display that they have on most of these bikes, and you'll see there isn't a lot different from model to model on these. I mean, they keep everything pretty universal. You can see the same type of display, although it is obviously styled a little differently for the sport bike. But you also have the Wonder Wheel controls. Hand controls are all the same on this bike as you would on the GSA series as well. So pretty slick, when you think about it. Still rocking the old school key ignition, which is kind of funky. I don't know why you wouldn't put a fob on this by now. But all in all, pretty good. Nice little trim piece on the tank. And of course, a locking gas cap. All right, let's try it. Oh, this bike is nice, but very small. Oh man. Oh man. I'm in the launch position on this bike too. Ready to rock. Actually, the foot pegs are up quite high. Higher than other sport bikes I've ridden, just comparing it to like my Honda that I had and perhaps the Daytona. I asked the guy, "How fast is it, sir?" He said, "Oh, too fast." I can feel this thing wants to give. It is very, very flickable. You really got some nice downward force on the bottom. Red line here on this is 12,000 RPMs right now as it's warming up. It might change a little bit as we go. Yeah. MotoGP, here we go, boys and girls. Nice burble. What the heck? Oh yeah.
ridiculous. The brakes on this thing, you could stand this thing right up on its nose. Ridiculous. Listen to that. That thing. Insane. I give this thing 2 thumbs up. So far up that you can't even feel them. Let's go out in front of the garbage truck, bud. Make this ride really interesting. Visor down. You literally only need 1 gear. Okay. Daddy, like this. Okay, so this thing essentially I'm a little bit big for. I think if you were maybe like 6 foot tall, you could ride this bike and really it would suit you well. I have some enduro boots on from my adventure riding, so the shifting and the brake lever is a little bit tricky to reach because they're just very, very tight. But this bike has you in the launch position, and ground control of Major Tom, when this thing warms up, forget about it. I mean, even at low RPMs for a sport bike, this thing is ready to go. So not overly uncomfortable on my wrists either. I'm surprised, you know, usually the sport bikes, your wrists just start to ache after you know, riding for a while. But this one, you're kind of in a neutral position on the handlebars, which is nice. BMW, you could probably put a riser on this and get them up even a little bit more, but it's really not, it's not terrible at all. So we got a pretty sharp corner right here. I'm gonna drop in and try to see what I can do. I mean, the lean angle on this bike is insane, so, and the brakes are insane as well. Oh yeah, just wants to carve it up. And with this bike, that being said, I think with this bike, it would be a situation where you do not pass go and you do not collect $200. You go straight to jail. And it's deceptive too, because you're paced forward, so it actually doesn't look like you're going as fast as you're going. Yeah, I just probably when I go to register my new 1000, I would just hand my license in at the same time, because that's probably what would happen. I imagine on the highway this thing must be fantastic. The power delivery is so smooth though, from even low RPMs. I mean, it's just so butter. There's nothing to it. I like it. Sitting upright on the bike like this right here isn't bad to take the strain off your lower back, but when you're hunched over, man, you can feel it. Your lower back is pushed right in, right up against the tank, so you're really sucked into this bike. Again, like I said, if you were probably like, I don't know, 6'1" or 2 maybe at the most, this bike would probably suit you well. Anybody taller than that, it's going to be a little bit tricky. Just talk about the suspension for a minute. This is a full-on sport bike, electronically dampening suspension as well. So again, BMW's got it turned on. I'm really having a hard time to say this, but I'm just falling in love with BMW. It's like they understand what it takes to make a motorcycle and what riders want. With this being said, riding this bike is pretty cool because, like, the suspension is not harsh at all, and this is a full-on crotch rocket. I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I'm not getting totally railed around by the bumps. I rode Harley Sportster S earlier, and I couldn't even talk. I was getting hammered so hard. So, considering that this is a sport bike, you know, you would expect the suspension to be buckboard, but totally not the case whatsoever. Really, really surprising, actually. And a fantastic burble on the back end. I mean, who doesn't like that sound? You hear that sound and you know you're open for business. I'd say the power on this doesn't come on until about 4,000 RPMs. Between 2 and 4, I mean, it's there, and it's a nice cruisable RPM range, but until you hit 4, you're not really living life. The brakes on this are deceptively dangerous. See, you go down here. I mean, it's too much. It's almost too much power, but it's manageable power. I was thinking about the Honda Rocket that I rode, the 929. It was similar power, but not as finesse. And this bike has finessed it. So for modes, we got road, dynamic, race, and rain, which is not surprising. The road and the dynamic, used to those with BMW, but the race mode, I'm kind of curious about that. I might turn that on when we get to the back stretch of the speedway just to try to see what it feels like. But I mean, very, very stable bike. Very, very rideable for what you're on. I mean, you're literally strapped to a rocket booster, and it's very manageable. You know, that's a beautiful thing for real. For realsies. Any of you guys out there in Bikeville have one of these? Throw some comments down. Let me know what your thoughts are. I spoke with another YouTuber that had a 2013 one of these, and he kind of gave me the down low on the last version, and actually quite an overhaul done to this new model. This is from what the sales guy told me, this is the M version. I don't know that for sure. But it has some of the upgrades, including the electronically valved suspension, the paint scheme, which to me looks like white, but it's like a aluminum pearl color. Poor old guy's having a rough time raking leaves. In the road mode, the suspension is quite plush for a sport bike. Like I said, I'm gonna flip it over to race and just see what it feels like. See what happens. Okay, now we're in race. So we'll give it a second. Oftentimes with electronic valve suspension, you have to give it a little bit to kind of pump up the suspension. So typically electronically valved suspension, you'll set the mode and then you go over bumps, and as you go over bumps, it builds pressure in the valving. So I can feel a difference for sure, big time. It's much stiffer now. It's just going over these little bumps here, but it's not uncontrollable. Not a comparison to go with the Harley Sportster S, but again, that's your American supposedly sport bike, and absolutely awful. Even on this road, it was horrible. And thinking back to my Triumph Daytona or my Speed Triple, this bike's suspension is right there with them. But actually, I think this bike is actually a little better suspension wise. It's a little bit more plusher, but no sacrifice in the handling. So technology's come a long ways for sure. Yeah, definitely much stiffer when into the sport mode. Definitely. So BMW does something interesting on this. We have a cable operated clutch, no hydraulic. Of course, for the race bike situation, you're talking, you know, a cable is much faster and you can slip it much easier. You could wheelie this bike very, very easily, but I don't obviously want to have any trouble, so we're not going to do that. What's happening here? We got Harley guys. Somebody crashed. All right, so we're in race mode. I'm not going to be able to launch this thing like I want to, but I'm gonna try to put a little space between them, and then I'm gonna really give her the beans. So I'm right at the tip of the power band, $4,000. You can even see it on the display. The 4 has got a solid line, which tells me that that's where it wants to live life. Once again, getting too excited. Here we go. Holy oyster sandwich. And then the brakes. Well, thanks for tuning in. I need to now go change my pants. And yeah, I need to talk to somebody about this situation. Wow, what a fast bike and a nice package, and actually quite manageable for the amount of power. 200 plus horses on this thing. I mean, it's a little bit on the redonkulous side. So throw me some comments below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Thanks again for going on a ride with me. I appreciate it. Hopefully this helps you out in making a decision. I certainly know if I want to die, I'm going to buy one of these. And till next time, folks, ride safe.